you do when you meet things that go bump in the night? Animals do what they want, when they want, and where they want. Snakes, bats, bird strikes, and giant spiders. You never know what you'll meet in the wild flight line. This is Planes, Trains, and Animal Crossings. Say, fellas, you ever notice just how much of a zoo the flight line or any airport can really be? Like, so I'm from an area that's very tropical. And so there's a whole bunch of wildlife that you mostly won't see. For instance, snakes, right? I know there's snakes in deserts and stuff, but those would be like the poisonous ones, and they normally don't climb trees. So the ones I've seen, they would have these special traps on the fences of every airport. And that's kind of like how you knew you were near an airport, is you see all, like a fence line of all these different traps. And it looked like a whiskey barrel, like a small personal size whiskey barrel, kind of like those Heineken kegs, you know? So picture like those.
Oh yeah.
Picture like those.
A small keg.
Yeah. And for the longest time, I didn't know what they were until finally I asked somebody, like, hey, what are those things? Like, oh, those are snake traps. Like, there's actually snakes that come onto the flight line? Like, oh, yeah. It's our own shitty episode of Crocodile Hunter, you know? Like, just random animals everywhere.
Well, that's it. That's interesting. I've never seen a snake. I mean, I've been to numerous airports, and I've seen snakes and you name it parts of an aircraft at airports, but I've never seen an actual snake trap. What I grew up knowing what a snake trap was is that my mom would see one in the yard, she'd scream, and then run in the house, and then call the neighbor Jack, who was a good old boy out of West by God, Virginia, and he would come up with his shovel and dispose of it.
You're talking West Virginia. Is that kind of like that one Netflix show? What is it? Whites.
The Wild Wonderful Whites of West Virginia.
Yeah.
Boy, if anybody listening here has seen that, we'll know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't seen that, get on Amazon Prime and pull up The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, produced by Johnny Knoxville. And it is an eye-opening experience into the hard, harsh realities of life deep in the Appalachians. It's wild. Shoreline, if you have not seen that, you got something to watch tonight.
Be prepared. It's really rough.
It is rough.
It is rough.
And that's part of the world that I'm from. So
got snakes and meth. Hell yeah.
Snakes, meth, and pills.
You know, I picture that series being like the deterrent people will use for anti-drug campaigns, you know what I mean? Like you remember those old commercials where it's just a guy with a frying pan, he has an egg, and it's like, this is your brain on drugs.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the new one. It's like, this is your brain on drugs. It just plays like 3 episodes from that series. Like, oh my god,
it's gonna be like the old Dare programs. If you do meth and pills, snakes are gonna come for you. What? I don't know how these are related.
It's that bad. That's how wild it is.
Shit's insane. So like little whiskey barrels on the fence catches snakes. I've never, and that's what you guys did in the tropics then, yeah?
Yes. So it has like 2 ends, and they'll put some bait in the center, and the snake somehow climbs up the fence and into the trap. But the doors only open one way, and then they get stuck there, and then I guess they bake in the sun until someone routinely goes and checks on the traps to see if something got caught.
Boy, who gets to open up that present?
Right? Imagine that. What's in here? Oh, Jesus.
But you know what? I'd much rather do that than deal with a spider of any size. That is, ugh. I'm getting the chills just thinking about it. Which brings me to like another, being on the airport, right? We'd be deployed over in the Middle East, and there's camel spiders everywhere. And they like to hang out in the summertime, especially. They like to hang out under the gear, or like underneath the main gears, or in between the main gear tires, or underneath the axle hub, whatever else, and hang out in the shade there. And you would go to pull chocks, and those little bastards are not afraid of you. And they come running out, both front legs in the air. Oh, shit. And you're trying to smash it with the chocks in your hand, you know? Like, oh, get the fuck away. And you just eventually throw the chocks and just run for dear life.
So for those of you who've never seen a camel spider before, if you live in the U.S., go to Yuma, Arizona. There's tons of them.
Or are those camels or those sun spiders? Because they look similar.
I guess they're sun spiders. They look similar. They act similar. So for those of you who have a spider phobia, a camel spider is everything you would expect to be afraid of. Everything. It looks ugly. It has big teeth that you can see. It chases after you, and they jump.
And they jump. Yeah. We had a guy overseas. It was one night, and he was standing there and doing an inspection on an aircraft, and all of a sudden he felt this like slap right on the side of his leg, and he looks down, and it was a camel spider. And you want to talk about a grown man, 200-pound man that sounded like a 7-year-old girl screaming? That was that guy, man. And I felt bad for him because if it was me, I'd have had to just shoot myself and be done with it.
I could actually picture that. Like,
It was horrendous. Like, we had guys that would be sleeping in their hut, their tents, so to speak, and wake up and want to be sitting on their chest. We had in the inlets of one of our birds, they like to get up in there, especially in the wintertime, and build nests, their little nests there, because it would get the heat off the engine, And then we looked up and you had to, but here's the thing, right? As you're doing your walk around, we didn't have a stool out by the launch spot, so we had to just reach up in there with our hand and make sure the inlet was clear. And you learned real quick that you needed to wear a real thick glove when reaching in. But here's the worst part: is there was a kitten. One killed a damn kitten and drug it up in the inlet and was eating it. A kitten. I'll never forget that shit.
Yeah, like I said, man, camel spiders, they're the stuff of nightmares. And if you ever get brave enough to see their face close up, it looks like the face of Predator from the movie Predator, where it has like two biters or mandibles going one way and another set of mandibles going the other way. And then when they bite or whatever, they open up all huge, just like Predator when he screams.
Yeah, and they almost, like when you see him eat something, they like do a scissor. Like, they all work in tandem to do like a scissor action. It's the creepiest. It's kind of fascinating to watch, but it's creepy at the same time. But as Six can probably attest to, how many times did you guys catch scorpions and camel spiders and throw them in a container together, and that was your entertainment for the afternoon?
Oh, that was the thing to do, man. Like, every deployment, I swear, like, they need to make rules against that stuff. Or I think they did make rules against it, but you would always mess around with the wildlife, especially when it came to camel spiders, because they're so fast and they're so aggressive.
And you didn't care if they died?
Yeah, because there were tons of them. So we would catch these things, put them in jars, ammo cans, fish tanks, boxes, whatever we can do where they cannot climb or jump out. And we'll find whatever walks of life just to see what would happen. We'll drop scorpions in there, see if they'll fight each other. We'll drop ants or beetles if they jump in there.
Yeah, there was most of the beetles. They would shred in an instant and eat. But there was this one we found in Iraq, and it had two massive like pincers or mandibles that stuck out pretty far in front of it, and then inside of that was two smaller serrated mandibles. And as soon as we dropped that in the bucket, that spider knew exactly what it was, because he pressed himself up to the side of the bucket and was the only thing touching the bottom of the bucket was his two front legs, and the rest of it was holding up, and he wouldn't move. And that beetle was kind of just walking around through all the carcasses of everything that spider had eaten, just whatever. And as soon as it figured out where the spider was at, that was it. And it latched on to the ass end of that spider and just shredded him. I couldn't believe it, because nothing had been able to kill that spider to that point. But as soon as that went in there, that spider was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
That kind of reminds me of Friday, when everyone's all having a good time and talking shit. Then here comes Debo in his busted ass bike.
All you hear is the squeaky wheel of the bike.
Like, shit, it's
Oh,
Debo.
damn it. Hide your chains. Put your money away. Take off your watch.
Like,
What you got on my 40, Craig?
What you got on my 40, camel spider? Like, oh no, oh man, nothing.
Damn, my grandmama gave me that chain.
So going a little bit more off topic, man. Actually, I had a station chief when I was in the recruiting office. This dude was big, like diesel, straight diesel. And we used to call him Debo because he literally looked like Debo, like tall, bald, just jacked and tan. Like,
Had a mean look to his face.
yeah. And he had a deep Darth Vader voice. Like, this dude's scary. I later found out that same person he did a stint as a stuntman. So he was in the TV show Renegade. He was in Mortal Kombat. And then I think one of his bigger achievements is he was in this, not American Gladiators, but he was in this other show. It was similar to American Gladiators. and he was one of the gladiators. And then his wife actually was in American Gladiators. Like, holy shit! Look at that small world. No wonder why you're freaking huge.
God, their kids must have just been monsters. Mini
Yeah.
Hulks walking around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his son was like the fastest kid in America when he was 10, something like that. Yeah. So now I think now he's a quarterback for a university. I forget which state, but he had a full ride like nobody's business.
That's dope. That's one thing I've always been jealous of. I wish I had the athletic ability to have been picked up by a school on a scholarship, on an athletic scholarship to play. I would have taken any sport. How do you feel about water polo? Great. I'm a terrible swimmer, but sure.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like anything. That would have been awesome because I love sports, but genetics said otherwise.
Yeah, I only qualify for the ESP. Only qualified for the Ocho sports, you know.
ESPN 8 the Ocho dodgeball. There you go.
Heck yeah, combat dodgeball.
We're only qualified for intramural sports. Well, you still have to play sports. Yeah, it was just kind of like everybody meeting out in the quad and throwing a frisbee. How do you feel about frisbee golf?
What?
I don't even know how to play that.
But here, look at us now. We're here. Here we are, scraping bats off a plane.
Oh man. Speaking of bats on a plane, we had one that hit. We had a probe sticking off the front of one of our planes, and we had a bird land late one night, and shish kebabbed right on it was a bat. And then we had another one, and there's these little nose lenses on the front of this specific plane as well. And we had, and it's probably 3 inches in diameter, maybe a little bit, maybe like 4 to 5 inches in diameter. Either way, not very big, and you had to be super accurate to hit this. And we had one come back, and we noticed the lens was blown out and blown inward. So we take off, we open up the bay, and we look inside, and it's just blood splattered, just a mist, just and debris and matter all over the inside of this payload bay. And we're like, what the? Turns out it was a bat, and the bat hit perfectly through that lens and then just grenaded itself all over the inside. And fortunate for me at the time, that was an avionics problem.
What the hell is all this? Like, good question, friend.
I don't know, but it smells terrible, and it looks like you got some cleaning up to do. Also, we got to relaunch this plane in like an hour or so. Pitter patter.
Just don't touch the blood. You might get rabies. So a similar bat story, man. This was in Australia, and it was in close to the outback, Australia. And these bats, I don't know what the hell they were feeding them, but they were huge, like baby pterodactyl bats. I promise.
Or are those
you.
like the flying foxes?
I think they're similar, but they're not as big.
Okay.
Flying foxes, it literally sounds just like that. It's a flying fox. But
yeah, I mean, their head looks like a fox. It's so big.
These things, they must be a similar family, but they were big. Like, I think wingspan wise was maybe about 3 feet.
Gross.
Right? So picture this thing, like, it's the Batman, man. It's the freaking Batman.
Jesus.
Or baby pterodactyls. And we were doing an exercise in the outback, and I just remember when the plane landed, the crew chief came out and they said they needed to do a bird strike inspection because it was dark. We couldn't see. It was like, a bird strike? What the hell kind of birds are flying around out here? And we go out to the plane. We see like the crack, not a crack, but it kind of like a blood splatter on the windscreen. And there it was, just chilling on the side of the door, like this big freaking Batman-sized bat. Like, holy shit.
Please tell me it was dead, though. It's not one of those super Hulk bats where it's like it smacked the windshield and it was just hanging on like, damn it, that hurt. But I'll recover.
No, it died. It for sure died.
Good.
It was like half smashed. It looked like someone made a Play-Doh bat and then just kind of hit it with a frying pan.
Oh, shit. Ugh.
It was gross. We had to scrape it off, but it was so big, and we were just shocked that a bat hit the windscreen.
Could grow that size.
Yeah. So we were stupid and bored that night. So we got a cardboard box and made it to look like a coffin, and made a eulogy and all kinds of dumb stuff. Here lies Bruce. He was a good guy.
So you were talking earlier about, in your homelands of the snake traps and all that. What other kind of mitigation efforts did that airfield have, or those airfields have out there for birds, for bats, for, I don't know if you guys had rabbits at all, or if you had other wildlife? Because where I grew up, right, our biggest things, we'd have rabbits, deer, turkeys, foxes, because foxes were chasing the turkeys. a bunch of small birds, and I guess that's about it. For larger stuff that could fly or do some real damage. And like. As you guys might have probably seen on TV, like a lot of places use hawks. And so we had a guy there with a hawk, and he would fly around and swoop down, and the hawk would swoop down and scatter all the birds every so often. Or it would find a rabbit, and it would nail the rabbit. But then, like, I remember the first time I saw this was in Cape Canaveral, Florida, and they had these big air cannons, and it sounded like shotgun blasts. But every 10 to 15 minutes, bang, and it would just shoot a big puff of air out of this tube, but it sounded like a shotgun, but it's to scare the birds off, so every 10 to 15 it would go off, but I think it just scared me more than anything.
That's not the pigeon pooping, that's me. So as far as animal control, I know they had like a bunch of trucks that would just patrol the perimeter, and then we got the traps, and I know there was other stuff there like
but you guys had wild boars too. How'd you guys keep them out? I mean, obviously there's a fence there, but I'm sure there's a way they could dig root underneath or breach the fence.
Yeah, we do have boars, but I think they're very anti-people because they would do everything as much as possible to avoid humans. And I think that's what made the fun in trapping them when it came time for like food and festivals and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But as far as like the wild pigs anyway, they were very skittish about being anywhere near humans unless they're domesticated already.
Okay. Well, I mean, because pig's one of the few animals that can turn feral to non-feral, and it can do it many, many times throughout its life. So you could take a wild boar, domesticate it, and it will start to, over time, lose its hair or a majority of its hair, and its tusk will start to reduce, and its skull will actually change shape, right? So a boar's head, is pretty flat, and then a domesticated pig has more of an angle to it from the skull to the snout. But a pig over time, so you take a wild boar and domesticate it, and over time his skull will change shape. But then if that pig gets out of the pen and goes back into the wild, they'll start to grow their hair again, their tusk will start to grow, and their skull will start to change back to nature's perfect shovel.
Isn't that amazing though? Like I've seen some of those wild boars, and like you said, like they like to shovel, they'll throw mud and all kinds of stuff everywhere. They'll dig trenches and like uproot certain things. It's wild, like just how fast those things can adapt once they're led back into their natural habitat.
Yeah, so I didn't know because they can do massive amounts of damage. So that's what I was thinking. Like, how did you guys keep them off the airport? Because keep them from getting into flower beds to over where people were at, to running across the runway. Because you hit a pig in a plane, that's a bad day.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. And pigs, like they're like the same makeup as humans. So like when their blood splatters everywhere, it's going everywhere.
Yep.
And they stink too. So that smell is just never going to wash out for some time.
No, I raised pigs growing up. I can tell you, the area I grew up in, we all you're kind of nose blind because everybody kind of smelled the same way, but you might leave the area on vacation or whatever, and the smell is just embedded in your skin. No matter how many times you shower, that smell is just, it's a part of you.
Yeah, and I could say that to effect because I remember we were in this one flight line and it was right next to a pig and sheep farm, and whatever it is they're feeding them, we know because when the morning sun comes, all that stink and methane and whatever have you they were giving them floats over to the airfield, and then that stink just sticks to everything. It's like fiberglass; it just sticks to everything. And no matter what you do, no matter what diffuser or scented Yankee Candle you got, it just smells like Yankee Candle and shit.
That's two really, 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 really strong smells competing there for to be number one.
Right. It's like a UFC fight for smells, and the sheep shit is winning.
I remember growing up, I heard a long time ago there back home, and they said somebody hit a white-tailed deer with a plane, and I don't think it was a jet, like a big jet. I think it was like a small prop job, probably like a small Cessna 172 or something. But it like did enough damage where it damn near collapsed the front gear back. So it pushed the front gear back, and so it was kind of riding the aircraft was riding at a steep angle, but they had to redo a bunch of work on that. I mean, because the deer in the area I grew up in can get 200 pounds. The whitetail 250 pounds, and that's a big animal.
Wait, deers where you're at, man? They're talking like anything 6 point or more. Those things can take a hit,
Oh, I know. It's pretty interesting to say the least. But again, they had fences up there too. But deer can jump pretty high, so the fences around the airport are at least 10 feet.
Right.
most deer because I don't know a deer who's got ups like that. They got ups, but not that good at ups, you know.
They got jumps, you know. Whitetail can jump.
I think that was a movie, right? Oh no, white man can't jump.
No. Whitetail can jump. Now you get certain areas, right? Like say Australia or Hawaii, for instance. They got those special animals like mongoose or kangaroos. Kangaroos now, those things can take a hit. Like when I've never seen a kangaroo for almost all my life, and my depiction of a kangaroo was exactly as I saw in a Looney Tunes cartoon. You know,
Yep.
It's like just like this thing with this big head and a pair of boxing gloves, you know. And then when I saw one in real life, this was I think 2007 when I first saw a kangaroo, and they look like that. You know, I mean, minus the face, it wasn't all big like a light bulb, but when they start ready to fight, they stand up straight up with their tails on to kind of hold them up, and they stick their chest out like they're ready to box. I'm like, wow, they really do that. No wonder why cartoons have them depicted as
square
boxers.
up, bro.
Yeah, straight up, square up, bro. And so that's how they fight. So they'll stand up and then they'll use their tails kind of like a tripod, and they'll kick each other in the chest. That's how they would fight.
They got some pretty massive claws too, from what I understand, right?
Oh yeah, those things will tear you up. And you know, picture this thing can hop like 30 feet on a bound. So imagine when it's doing a full kick like it wants to hurt you to the chest.
Yeah, you're gonna feel that.
You're gonna feel that.
Did you ever see the video where it went? I don't know if it went viral, so to speak, but it was going around the internet for a little bit. But there was this kangaroo, and it was holding this dog in like a headlock. And so the guy, the owner of the dog, ran out there into the field to help his dog out. And as he ran up to the kangaroo let go of the dog. The dog takes off running, and the kangaroo kind of squares up on the guy. And in typical Australia fashion, the guy just rears back and cold cocks this kangaroo, and the kangaroo is like had the stun look like, what the fuck just happened to me? I've never had that happen before. And then the guy just turns around and walks off, and the kangaroo is just like, it just stood there and watched him walk away. Like, I don't know what the fuck just happened.
It's like, you're not supposed to hit the face, bro. Not
just
the
walk up
face.
here and hit me. What the hell's going on?
In the chest, man. In the chest. What's wrong with you?
God, I was like, I mean, that's a ballsy dude to walk up and do that to a roo.
Yeah, heck yeah. And those things will tear you up, man. Just out of control. And now you would hear stuff about like the people do for sharks too. Like, oh, if a shark's about to bite you, just punch it in the nose. Like,
yeah, but I'm underwater and I'm not Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
100%, bro. Let me just go ahead and punch this 5-foot shark in the face. See how that turns out.
Sounds good. I'll definitely think about that while I'm definitely not shitting myself in the ocean.
There was this one Netflix show. I think it was an Adam Sandler movie. It was about the wrong Missy.
Oh my
I think
God.
it's called.
Yeah.
Where what's it? Rob Schneider like straight cold clocks a great white shark in the face.
Yeah, punches it right in the face. Oh my! He was because he was missing a hand, right?
He was missing,
oh my God! Shoreline. Have you seen that movie?
No.
It's a Netflix only movie, but it's David Spade is the main guy in it, and it's got Nick Swartzen in it too.
Oh no, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's called The Wrong Missy. It is hysterical. It's funny, and then the movie just kind of ended. They were like, "Man, this is really funny. We could keep this going for a while," but we got to end it somewhere. So then they just end it. You know what I mean? But it's comical to say the least.
So it'd be funny if it was that same Rob Schneider that got messed up from that one other movie. What's it? 50 First Dates. That would have been funny. Hey, look, continuity.
That would have been funny, actually. I didn't even think about that.
But like you're going back to where like animals can adapt to their environment when they're put back in it. It's a totally different thing when the animals decide to make your flight line their environment. You know, like camel spiders, for instance, or snakes. Snakes, for instance. I recall times where I would be inside a cargo aircraft and I'm reaching through to clean out the seats, and then out pops a snake. Like, oh, Jesus. I'm thinking it's a seatbelt, but it's a snake. Like, oh, my God.
This seatbelt feels really weird. Why is it moving?
Oh, Jesus.
What plane was that on?
It was on a CH-53, matter of fact, the Buff Horse. The
Buff Horse. And where was this aircraft? Where was this helo located while you were doing this inspection?
This one was in not Australia. It was
Australia's got all the crazy stuff, huh?
Yeah, Australia's just, dude, those guys are crazy, man. That's why all their cities are on the outer rim. They stay away from the middle, just kind of like in Jurassic Park in our previous episode.
Well, yeah,
You know?
they're on the outskirts of where they live is dangerous ocean creatures, and then inboard is 5 out of 7 deadliest snakes in the world, plus scorpions, plus spiders, plus koalas and wombats.
Right. And like, everything about that place says people should not live here, but yeah, here we are.
Yeah, it's. I mean, talk about everything bad that lives in one spot. That place has got it.
The crazier ones is when you get the small snakes that not just look like seaboats, but they look like cables.
Oh yeah, and they look like little vines in a tree. Yeah,
Yeah, so like, say, imagine like you're an avionics person, you pop a panel, and you're thinking it's just another cable bone. You go to reach it, and it comes out and like slithers out, like, oh shit.
Now, have you ever found a dead snake or a partially frozen snake? So one that was in the aircraft, and then it took off and went to altitude, flew a mission, came back, and froze to death while at altitude.
I never had a situation to that effect.
Yeah, I heard a guy talk about that one time. The only thing I've never found an actual snake in a plane, but I did find the skin. So there had been a snake there, and it shed its skin and moved on, but left its skin behind, and that was bad enough, because that just makes you go, oh shit, it's in here somewhere. And you're expecting Samuel L. Jackson to pop out at any moment.
I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes. I feel that's how it should be. Anytime you find any type of wildlife on a plane, from snakes to spiders, like, I'm tired of these motherfucking.
I would have to say the worst experiences for me in dealing with wildlife on a flight line was the camel spiders, and then working on the corporate side of things was working out in Palm Springs. Actually, it was further than that. It was Thermal, so it would be the closest private airport to what everyone knows is where Coachella is held. All right, so I was on that ramp, and it was right around the time Coachella was going on, but I was there at like 2 a.m. fixing some wealthy people's private planes, and it was a small private jet, and to get into the hellhole of that was pretty difficult for a guy of any size, really. But I was working on a relay panel, and I had to lay across the batteries, and my feet I couldn't fit all the way inside, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. And my feet kind of had to hang out, and I had like a chair or a stool out there to where I could like rest my feet on top of while I'm laying there working on stuff. And you know how like a dog's nails sound on like linoleum or tile or concrete, you hear that little sound, and I hear that, and I'm like, oh, what the hell is that? And then I hear that, and I was like, a growl, and I'm like, oh fuck, like my feet are hanging out, there's nothing I can do. So all I do is take my wrenches and smack on the fuselage to make some noise, and then start shouting, get out of here, like I'm a real big tough man. And I waited a few minutes, and then I hear the nails kind of move around, and then I hear them kind of wander off. So I slowly crawl out of the back of this aircraft, and I'm like looking all underneath, around, like make sure it's not whatever it was still close by. And I finally get out a more powerful flashlight I had, so I start shining across the ramp, and I see there's 2 eyes. So it was a coyote that was coming across the ramp, and he was growling at me, and I was like, Jesus Christ, get the hell, yeah.
The coyotes will mess you up too,
They
man.
will.
Like,
They're smart.
Like, I've heard some stories where coyotes are easy to frighten, but I've also heard similar stories where coyotes will gang up on dogs and stuff like that, or whatever it is they're trying to get at.
Yep. I've even heard stories where they'll befriend a dog. Like, let's say there's a chicken coop in the backyard, so they'll befriend a dog, and they'll actually play with the dog to get it on its side, and then they'll just move in and start raiding the chicken coop. And the dog's like, ha, 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 we're all friends, though. It's cool. It's fine. And then the owner comes out the next morning like, what the hell? All my chickens. And the dog's like, yeah, but I got some new friends. It's cool. It's cool, right, master? We're all cool, right?
We're friends, right? Like, you're the worst guard dog ever.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But those are my 2 crazy experiences.
I think my worst experience, besides the snake thing where it almost bit the shit out of me, was this was in Yuma, Arizona, and I had to crawl up into the hellhole of Huey, and this aircraft hasn't done anything for some time, So he just kind of sat there idle for a little bit, and had to go up in there for I forget what for. And as soon as I crawl underneath, I see like a bunch of spider webs in it, and
Well, wait, so you're in the hellhole?
yeah, so I'm in the hellhole. I'm already popped my head in there, and I look around and I see spider webs all over the place. I'm like, oh no! It's like that scene in Harry Potter, where you could hear them coming down from the trees and whatnot. Like, no. And so I left. I freaking got out there. I freaking ran like the scaredest person ever. I ran out, and then I told somebody like, "Hey, you guys might want to try to flush out the hellhole some way somehow because there's a bunch of spider webs in there." And then other people just like looking at me like they just had the scary story themselves, kind of like survivors of a horror story.
You too?
like other Saw victims.
Yep.
Oh my God, it was terrible. And then I found out those spider webs were actually Black Widow spiders. So like, oh my fucking God. I just went into a hive of Black Widow spiders. Like, no, sir. Never again.
No way. So how do you clean them out? What'd you have to do? Throw one of those bug bombs in there, close the door, and come back in a week?
I have no idea. I just like, you know what? I'm not going into any more hellholes until we leave this fucking place.
Somebody else's problem.
I told you about it. So whatever cleaning procedure we got to do, I mean, we'll do it then. But right now, fuck today.
Oh my God, there's no way I could work knowing that there's spiders all over the place. I mean, I think I told you the other day I was driving to work and I'm talking a tiny little spider dropped down from the bill of my hat, and I damn near wrecked the car. I damn near wrecked my car. Yeah. All over the road, like, oh shit, took my hat and threw it across the thing.
It's like, wow, he's having a bad day.
And then I thought I got rid of him. And then I pull into the parking spot at work and I look down and it's crawling across my lap, crawling across my thigh. And I squished it on my thigh, and I think the bug guts were still there throughout the rest of the day. But that was, I don't do spiders, man. Creepy.
Like you said, you get those Hulk spiders, where like you smush them, you think they're dead, and they just pop right up and keep going. Like, what the hell?
They look at you like, hey, bitch. You're like, oh, shit.
Say something again. And they're like,
they kind of do that. They kind of flex on you where they kind of like move to you real quick. You're like, oh, damn. Oh, damn, take my wallet,
Just take my money and go. Now, I've seen some cartoonists. They made like these little short animated GIFs or videos to help people with arachnophobia. So they try to make the spider look all cute and whatnot, like this tiny little thing and all cute. And like some of the things a spider would say to you to be all nice.
So it'll put like the little anime eyes on or whatever, or the overdub child, like a child's voice. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I showed that to some of my friends, and they're just that definitely afraid of spiders. Like, no, fuck that thing.
Yeah,
because it still looks like a spider. It doesn't look like a cartoon. It looks like a no kidding spider. So
on the subject of gross and disgusting things, did you guys have banana spiders there where you grew up, like in Hawaii?
The scariest bugs I've seen in Hawaii were centipedes. Those things are disgusting.
I never ran across those. Is it like the super fat one that looks like a dash? Like a dash 2 cable, like real fat.
Yeah, and they, like you can't. That's the ones where their jaws are big and you can't tell which end's the head.
Yeah. Ugh, I didn't know they had those there. I never saw one when I was stationed there.
Heck yeah, they're everywhere now. And some of these, I'm not sure which ones of them are poisonous, but I did want to figure it out because they do get pretty big. Like about 5-6 inches, I think. Heck no.
No, that's
absolutely no.
I remember walking through like a banana tree orchard there in Hawaii, and I just remember seeing a banana spider on one of the trees, and it was terrifying. It's the biggest spider I've ever seen in my life. Like massive long legs, huge bodies. I guess they go after birds a lot, but they're that kind of size. But it was grotesque.
Are those the ones that has like a black abdomen, but it has some yellow on it too?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, yeah, I have seen those, matter of fact. And there's a lot of those in Guam too, but they call them something else. They don't call them banana spiders. I think they call them garden spiders because you see them, especially with people who like to grow their own stuff or garden, right? And so you see like 5 or 6 of them, like just with their web all over the damn place. Like, yeah, that's a big no for me, friend.
I got to tell you, I have goosebumps, and I've had them this entire time we've been talking because now I keep looking around me in my current situation where I'm sitting, and I'm like, I feel like there was one crawling on me. Now I'm looking down at my feet, and I'm like, oh, there's one that's going to come down from the ceiling, and it's.
Just watch that anime cartoon, man, with the cute spider.
That's not going to help me. I can tell you that. I've seen that before. It's horrible.
Now, I think probably the coolest animal encounter that I've seen was with an owl. So this was in San Diego. We're in a hangar in San Diego, and we're doing like a helicopter work on nights, and we just hear like this weird screech, like not even a screech, but a squeak. It sounds like a mouse squeak, like
Okay.
it's like or like a cat squeaking. Like, what the heck is that noise? Right? And then this rat crawls out and goes to the middle of the hangar. I was like, oh, maybe it's a rat making that squeak. But then we hear the squeak again, and then out pops this owl from the rafters and snatches up the rat and takes it off into the darkness.
Oh, dang.
I'm like, whoa, that was cool.
I've never seen that happen. I've seen, like my experience with an owl is we were overseas in an undisclosed location, another desert, but it wasn't Iraq or Afghanistan. That's about all I can say to it. But I remember we had wings off because we were doing I don't remember what phase inspection we were doing, but one where the wings had to come off. We had them in a wing cart, and I'm walking by, and I hear the same thing, like a little chirp or a squeak or something. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I look down, and inside the wing, sitting on the spar, was an owl, like a little tiny barn owl. And now, keep in mind, here's the craziest part of this, and why I mentioned, sort of the location earlier. There is not a tree for 1,000 miles in any direction. So how the hell this owl got there is beyond me. Now, I don't know, because we were sharing the base with the local military, so maybe they brought him out there because they had like a tower and some hangars and stuff, so maybe they hand carried these owls out there to combat rodents, so to speak, and they just let him loose in the hangar, and he made his way to ours. I don't know, but that was fun getting him out of the wing, I can tell you that. Like we went there and got like pieces of chicken from the chow, and we're like, hey buddy, and we're like hanging it up in front. We'd lay it on the spar out front and see if he'd walk out and grab it, and he did. He came out and grabbed it, but then like 2 days later we were finally able to get him to leave altogether. And then with cats, you mentioned cats. So in like Iraq, right, you'd see a camel spider be in the middle of the night, and we had light alls everywhere, so little generators with lights up. Light towers on them, essentially. Six knows what I'm talking about, and I'm sure Shoreline probably has an idea as well. But you'd see a camel spider come running out from the shrubs, and you'd see it kind of slowly making its way across the ramp, kind of zigzagging back and forth. And you'd see a cat slowly creeping out of the shadows, and then the cat would just sprint across the ramp and bounce on that spider. It was a fight for a little bit, but the cat would win. But I guess that would be a pretty decent meal for a cat. A starving cat in the middle of a desert, be a lot of protein. I mean, holy cats.
I think the craziest thing I've seen with a cat is this was I can't remember the aircraft of it, but we were looking around, and you notice how when cats are in the dark, their eyes glow a little different, or they shine a certain way. So we're looking, and we see the engine intake. The engine intake cowling, and we see like this little glimmer in the inside. At first we thought like, God damn it, someone left a tool in the damn intake. So we go closer, then we see two of them, like, what the hell is that? And then I guess we spooked the cat, and out pops the cat, like, oh shit, Jesus Christ.
Holy shit. Now we in Afghanistan, I remember we had over by one of our Connexes, we had a pallet where we would keep like certain pods and stuff on. And I remember we didn't have any pods on it, and we got the direction to go and clean up that area and consolidate and get rid of the old crappy pallets and whatever else. And there's probably 15 pallets stacked up there in a couple different piles, and we moved them out of the way. And this lizard runs out there. But I'm not talking about any lizard you kind of used to see. This thing, I swear to God, was a fucking mini Komodo dragon, you guys. It was huge. It was big, and and until that day, I had no idea such a thing existed in that country. I was like, I'm telling you, it was a mini Komodo dragon. Looked like one, ran like one, had big claws like one, and then I'm like, holy cow! So fast forward to like 2 deployments later, and I'm back at that same location, and I was running the perimeter, and there was one sitting on the wall, like our perimeter wall, just like clutched to the side of the wall, just hanging out there. And I'm telling you, this thing had to weigh at least 10 pounds. And I'm like, I don't know how you're clutched to the wall right now, but I'm going to just do this big arch around your ass and carry on.
It's like Godzilla pre-nuclear fallout, you know?
I mean, yeah, that's kind of. I mean, it kind of looked like that a little bit. Yeah, it was crazy. I had no idea that such creatures existed where I was at. And had I known that, I'd probably taken a less careless approach to many things that I did.
Right, it's crazy like how much you can do or think you can do until you see animals decide to like make your place their new territory.
What about you, Shoreline? In your travels and ventures, what's your animals experiences?
Honestly, animals try to stick away from the loud noises that we produce. So, unfortunately, I don't think I have too much to add to this one. This has been very fun to listen
I
to.
mean, like nothing in setup though, right? It's been an empty venue for a month, and you come back in, and there's been some creepy crawlers that decided to make their home.
Honestly, no, because a lot, except for the summertime, especially because of where I'm at, a lot of the times what it is I'm working in a lot of casinos. So it's a lot of indoor stuff where people are still, walking around. The occasional spider and stuff like that here and there, but nothing like that.
I mean, you ever had a thing where like a curious bear came through because there was food, right? Yeah, it's a lot of loud noises, but bears are also like opportunists. And they're like, yeah, I'll suffer through the noise to get this half-eaten cheeseburger.
I can't think of one, man. I feel like that would be one that I would remember.
Dang. We should reach out and find to like the Forest Service or something like that and talk to their air division and say, hey, what's you guys' animal? Because I imagine some are like, oh yeah, we had a moose incident, or I'm sure bears would be a common thing like up around Yosemite. I don't know, but I'd be curious to know what their stories are.
Hey, could you imagine a moose like just damaging an aircraft? I mean, I'm sure like they're probably as big as some of them, you know?
I just learned yesterday that there are moose in northern Arizona.
Really?
I had no idea they would come that far south. I knew there was some. I thought they only came as far south as like northern Utah, but
I didn't even think they came south at all. I thought they were mostly up towards Canada.
Same thing. So I did some research yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, okay, northern Utah." I was like, I can, see that maybe coming down through Idaho, these lesser populated areas. But I had no idea northern. But the area, was this hiker, and he was going through. It was called the Uinta Highline Trail, and there's some couple of standing lakes there and some bigger trees and stuff. So, but it still looks like the wrong environment to see a moose.
So like Shoreline, going back to what MVP was saying about like you leave your stuff for the weekend or for whatever have you, and you come back and stuff just made them their home. I've seen many of occasions where birds, especially birds, you leave your aircraft however you wished over the weekend, and you come back and then there's like full on nests all over the place.
Like I was gone for 2 days. And to add to that, so last week, out hiking, backpacking through the backcountry of Yosemite. And it was the first night, and I wake up the next morning, crawl out of my tent, and I had left my clothes laying on the rock next to the tent, to dry out and whatever. And I had my socks there, and on top of my socks, a spider had made, like, the sock was kind of wrinkled up, so it was kind of a half tunnel, and he had made a full tunnel with his web over top on top of my sock in one night. Like, just, I was like, it seemed too ornate of a thing to be done in one night, but long story short, his life ended that day.
I thought you were going to say like so much for that sock.
No, because that was the only pair of socks I had. I had to take them.
Ditch the sock.
Well, sorry about that. The socks are staying.
Yep. Nope, it's yours now. Your germs.
But in typical chicken fashion, my dad's the one who had to kill it. I'm 32 years old. What a chicken shit, huh?
Hey man, I've seen people with their own share of fears, and that's just crippling fear. There's just happen to be spiders, so it's hard. What can I say? So with all that, like, what can either of you suggest that what a control measure can be to mitigate all these animals making your place their habitat?
Well, I mean, you all have your most outfits or units have their plugs and caps and everything else. Cover your pitos, to cover your inlets, to cover airspeed and statics and all that, and just make sure they're covered, and that to minimize your chances of something small crawling inside and ruining your day. Otherwise, before you go into an area to work, just give it a real good once over look, because that second glance, might save you from stepping on a snake or touching a spider or really anything.
You mean make sure the aircraft is safe for maintenance? What a concept!
And I guess to talk to the incident with the coyote out in Palm Springs area. Maybe just have a radio set up close by to hopefully maybe the sound of that would deter it enough. I don't know.
Well, then you also got stuff like traps, fences, whatever those needles are to keep pigeons from nesting on ledges.
Sure, although those would be more of the airfield director's job to ensure those are in place, not the actual maintainer themselves. But still.
And like with all things, animals are very opportunistic. They will, if you leave an opening, they will take it. Just kind of like anybody, really. If it's laying there or if it's open for them to get to, they will get to it.
Yep. And if you're working in high humidity areas that have lots of mosquitoes, make sure you carry some off. Because I'm telling you, in Sugar Land, Texas, they got mosquitoes that sound like small biplanes flying around there. Big son bitches.
Or what's the other stuff other than off? It starts with a D. Do you know what it's called? DEET, I think it is. It's like a paste you just kind of smear it
you're right.
On your clothes.
You're right.
Or Canella candles, right? Is that what it's called? Canella candles?
Yeah, although if you're working on a fuel system, I suggest maybe keeping that candle a little further away.
True that. You're right. Save that for the office,
Yeah, save that for your desk or around your van, whatever you're working out of.
Right. You could put it next to your tools so that way they're not nesting in your tools.
or have somebody working with you who's more delicious than you.
Right. Oh man. So like animals, man, they're gonna do what they want. And like we were saying all along, when you encounter them, some of them they'll be really shocking. And what MVP was saying earlier is you gotta mitigate the opportunity for them to get there, i.e. like plugging the hole, capping plugs and whatnot. Because the last thing you want to do is have to deal with an animal who now thinks your home is its home and starts to get defensive, especially when something's big enough to actually hurt you.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And then, and if you do getting bit, scratched, touching, I guess, even if you come in contact with the blood of said animal, get to medical help right away. If you start to notice anything, it's a pretty taboo thing to speak amongst maintainers, but, and I got made fun of it for a lot, but I always wear gloves for everything, whether it be no matter what time of the year, but I always had gloves on. And if it was wintertime, I had working gloves with nitrile gloves underneath of them. That might just be the extra layer of skin you need to, if you have to clean up like the bat guts, like you were talking there in Australia. I mean, it's anything you got to do to minimize contact with those animals, because you don't know what you get.
Right. So PPE, like have standard practices for animals if you ever do encounter them, and then make sure you guys keep that opportunity to a minimum, like we were saying. Closing thoughts, anybody?
Animals are wild and they'll remain as such, and there's not much you can do to change their minds. Once they decided they're going to go somewhere, they're going to get there. So just be careful and be on the lookout and be as safe as possible.
Hey, for those of you out there, if you like our content, you like to see us make more, follow us on Instagram at Kanks for Maintenance Podcast, Facebook, same thing. We have a Patreon at Patreon/Kanks for Maintenance. If you guys want to support us, give us show ideas, you want to keep the lights on and keep Short on being able to do what he needs to do to keep on providing the content for you. And we also have cancelformaintenance.com. We have an online shop where you guys can buy some merch, some swag from the show. And you could also suggest your show ideas, or if you want to be a guest on the show, hit up the website, hit up the contact us, and drop us a line. And we will get you heard and we'll get you on the show as best we can.
All right, everybody, have a good day. Thanks for hanging with us.